Hello, my name is Anna. I'm a digital fantasy artist, and today I'm going to make a highly requested video that it's basically my whole complete painting process from the sketch, actually the idea, to the rendering and final touches. So just buckle up and I'm going to go step by step in all my process. As you can see, I started just loosely sketching an idea that I already had for the piece, so I recommend that before you even start, get a bunch of references, get the characters' references, like how they look, how you want them to look, so their clothes, and start just thumbnailing ideas. I had a really specific pose in my mind already, so I just started sketching this pose. I am usually really forward in my ideas, so you should spend lots of time thumbnailing, but when I have an idea for a piece, I am really direct in what I want, so most of the times I already get what I want right off the bat. But you feel free to spend as long as you need thumbnailing ideas. This is only going to help you, and there is no set time, just make it until you're satisfied with your idea, but don't think too hard on it as well. Again, remembering that if you have any doubts, you can always comment down below, that I answer every single comment. And here I already kind of liked the first idea of the thumbnail I had, so I'm just trying to clean the sketch. And remember, you can see there's so many anatomy mistakes right now, but remember to not be so hard on yourself. The sketch is for you to be able to see what you don't like and fix it, so it's better to have something that is a bit wrong than have nothing at all. So just be brave and start sketching something. Right now I'm kind of a little bit more satisfied with the sketch, and I am trying to see if it actually capturing the idea that I have. And now I'm putting a proportions grid, a perspective grid that is going to help me with the background. If you struggle with perspective like me, don't be afraid of getting a grid, and even if it's like 1 point perspective, just like how I'm doing it here, just do it and sketch with the grid. That is going to help you so much. Art takes so much time, and to make a piece, even if you think it's not the best piece you've ever made, it still takes time. Even to get things wrong, it takes time. So don't be afraid of making mistakes, and remember to be kind to yourself while you're sketching, especially in this phase, and just do it. I didn't film the whole sketching process, but these are my final sketches. I just put the images here. I really took my time with the background sketching, as you can see, because I needed the proportions to look right and to help me detail afterwards. And again here on the character, I took my time with the hair, with the face, with her dress. So don't be afraid of really taking your time with sketching. It's not something you can just skip. And right now we're going to decide on the colors. So I basically used the thumbnail that I had and not the actual sketch thing. And I tried just to play with the colors and see what's going to look right. And basically I'm just playing with the colors. I'm trying some color dodge, some overlay, some multiply, color balance, just to play with the colors on the thumbnail until I feel like they are what I want. And again, feel free to spend your time here, because if you don't like the colors that you're painting with, it's going to take so long for you to repaint your whole painting. So feel free to try a bunch of different combinations. I quickly found the one that I liked. Again, I think I'm really objective with the things that I do, but feel free to try a bunch of different colors and moods. Right now, I'm already going for the flat colors. Again, I think I didn't film the whole process, but what is important here is for you to take care of the edges. See that I am thinking about the edges of the hair. I'm not just going to paint like a really solid color on top, I want the edges to look okay. And basically, I need the edges to make sense with the material that I'm going to paint. So think about the material that you're painting. For example, her clothes, they are going to have really soft edges, so I took care of that as well. And here I skipped because it's really a repetitive process, so I didn't want to film everything because this video is already going to be long, but basically I just finished with the flats. Here I'm already trying to figure out where the light is going to come from, so it's important to have your thumbnail, your color thumbnail there for reference so you can choose the right colors when you're painting. And I'm just thinking about the light and the texture of the background. And using my color thumbnail, I'm going to start painting in the bookshelves and trying to decide what colors are going to look right where and where the light is coming from. It's really repetitive and it's not a hard part. It's hard because you need to figure out the right colors and what colors are going to look right where. And I just go with the airbrush and the basic round brush to go around the parts of the background and trying to already make sense of the lightning scenario. And again, I didn't film the whole process of blocking the colors because I think it's really repetitive, and basically you just go around your sketch putting the colors, the local colors that you want in your place, in the right place. But here I basically just again go with the airbrush and the round brush, and I think about the light and the materials of every part of the background. And it is hard, but it's not as hard as it looks. As long as you have a good light idea and reference, it's fine. That's why it's so important to have a good color thumbnail. And here I'm already going with the airbrush. I think it's only the airbrush with the specific parts of her body. So it's supposed to be quite simple, this part. You should only be thinking about the light and not rendering it. So it's basically the same thing that we did in the background, and use your color thumbnail to help you. Again, don't forget that you need to lock the layers. So you can see in the side that I have separated every single place specifically where they are, and I've locked the layers so I don't paint outside of the place that I'm painting. Here in the face, I'm still only using an airbrush, but I'm already thinking about how I'm going to render her face. So it's important that when you know your light scenario, that you already know where the light is going to hit your character's face, as most of the times the character's face is the most important part of the painting. So feel free to kind of render in this part, but not really, and try to challenge yourself only using the airbrush because it's really hard to render with the airbrush, so it's going to force you to simplify your rendering. Here I'm just trying to darken more her facial features and make it easier once I get to the rendering phase. So as long as it looks right when I zoom out, I'm fine with it, and I'm going to do that with her hands and her back and her dress. And again, it's supposed to be simple, this part. I know it looks hard, but it's basically only thinking about the light and where the light is hitting and the shapes that you're making and how it's going to work when the painting is done. So just go, don't be afraid, and it shouldn't be so complicated. It's just an airbrush. It's not going to bite you, okay? It's just an airbrush. So right now you should take a rest. Remember that I made this painting in a couple of days, so don't think I just sat down and did this in 12 hours straight. I'm taking rests, and it's really important. So because sometimes you make a mistake, and if you are constantly there sitting and looking at the same thing over and over again, you stop seeing where the things are wrong, So you need to take a rest and do something else and then come back to it. Right now, I'm just thinking about how the painting is going to look when it's done, and I'm trying to figure out more of the light because I'm not quite happy with it. So I'm putting some color dodge, I'm fixing every single layer. I don't want to merge the whole image, so I'm going layer by layer and trying to fix the light because I'm unhappy with it. This light scenario was pretty hard. Next time I'm going to make something easier. But that's basically what I'm doing here, thinking about the image as a whole. Right now, I'm adding the books in the bookshelves, and I've used Devin L. Kurtz book brushes, and you can get them in her Gumroad. And I have my free brush set that I are organized in my Gumroad as well. It's in the link below, so you can get it there as well. So now we're going to the base rendering step, and basically I've laid out a foundation for myself with the airbrush. Again, I've used a bunch of references for the face. I've practiced portrait, so if you are confused about this step, go watch my video about how to study art, because sometimes you can't do exactly what you want to do in a tutorial because you haven't studied enough. So you can go, I'm going to put the link up in this video. But basically, you are going to start loosely rendering. I want you to leave some parts of the airbrush alone, because if you look at things in real life, there are some light parts that do look like an airbrush. So it's nice to leave that smooth airbrush sense in some parts of the painting. So that is why it's so important to use the airbrush first. But this rendering is just laying down a basic foundation of the image, and I'm going around and doing I'm cleaning the line art, and I'm detailing more of her facial structure. And again, remember and notice that I'm only in one layer, so I've locked every single other layer and I'm focusing only on her face, because I don't want to get overwhelmed with the amount of things that I need to detail. So I just take my time with her face, and it's the focal point of this painting. So it's really important for me to get it right. Again, if you have any questions, you can just leave them down below. I will answer every single one of them. But if you're having difficulties with the face, I tell you again to study more portraits, to just study more, and don't be so hard on yourself. It's hard to get the light scenario right off the bat. As you can see, I've literally zoomed in and zoomed out and detailed, and I took a lot of time to get this right. So don't feel bad if you are stuck at this step. Faces are hard. They aren't as hard as backgrounds in my opinion, but they are hard, so just take your time. But that's basically it. I'm not really sure what I can say right now, but just go and remember to take breaks, and it's okay. And remember that you've basically laid out a good base, so just go for it. And don't forget to flip your canvas as well. It's really important for you to flip your canvas, so please don't forget to do that. And here I used a soft brush and a brush that is a bit more like out there, so I just try to mix both of them, because I feel as in faces, sometimes you have lots of texture in a place and then it's really soft in other places, so I use a mix of two brushes. Here I'm going with the hand, and again, you don't need to like over detail right now. It's just a base rendering, so your biggest goal is to clean up the line art and try to make like the way that things look, like the form, and make it look more 3D. And again, if you need help, you can always use the Liquify, because I thought her nose was kind of weird and I tried to change it a lots of time, but I actually decided to I left it the way it was. And here I'm just adding more contrast, because I feel like it was lacking more depth in her face. It was too like middle tones. I think it's really interesting for you to start with middle tones, but then go with like more darker and lighter tones. So don't be afraid of starting with middle tones, but be careful with just leaving things in middle tones. And right now I'm going with the hair. I'm trying not to detail too much the hair. Some things that I used to do when I was just starting out, I would literally paint the hair as if it was a mess of gum, and it's literally lines and loose lines. The hair actually has lots of parts where it just looks like it's airbrushed. So again, try to keep the hair soft. It's actually soft. Like, remember how soft your hair is. It's not a mess, it's not a 3D block. So try to think about that while you're doing the base rendering for the hair. And again, it's really important that you keep the edges of the hair clean, because hair in the edge, they are just a bunch of little lines. So it's not supposed to look like it's hard, it's actually soft. So be careful with the edges of the hair. I felt like the hair was too dark, so I put a color dodge layer on it. And right now I'm just starting to paint her back. She has kind of like this back tattoo here in this design, and I'm trying to make her cloth like those really like thin clothing that you use at night, that it's kind of transparent. So you always, when you're painting materials, you need to keep in mind what type of material you're painting to make it look like it's soft or it's not soft, it really depends. So just keep in mind while you're rendering it, because for example, this type of material, I wanted it to look really soft because it's supposed to be almost transparent. So I did render it, but I left it really like airbrushy. So that's basically what I was going for. And remember, in this base rendering part, you don't need to pay attention so much with details. Like I wanted it to look like there was glitter, but I'm going to add the glitter only afterwards. So just think about making the base rendering before you add textures, so you don't need to worry so much about so many things at the same time. Again, this other part of her clothes, I wanted it to look like it was made out of fur, so I didn't really leave any airbrush. I just like render it as if it was soft but not transparent. And in her dress, again, I'm going to lay down some textures, but right now I'm just thinking about how it's going to look when the light hits, as if there was no textures in her dress at all. So remember to keep things simple for yourself. Think about the textures only afterwards. Just render the base right now. This usually works for me because I use it to just get really overwhelmed about the amount of things that I want to render, and I use it to add the textures afterwards, and everything looked so flat. So by making it on like steps and focusing only one thing at a time, it's easier for me. It makes the process longer, but it really helps me and my anxiety. Right now I'm going for the second rendering, and I'm thinking actually about the textures of everything. So as you can see, I'm painting the hairs of her eyebrow that I hadn't done that before. I am going with more like textures there. I'm adding some little dots on her face, like some freckles, but not so many because Nesta, that is the character that I'm painting, doesn't have as much. I'm already rendering her earrings. So that's basically what the second rendering means. It's for you to actually go in depth and think about how the material actually feels like, and to add textures without worrying so much about how the base looks. So right now I felt free to add textures. I'm adding little hairs. I'm thinking more about the light. And right now I'm painting in the fur. So as you can see, I made it look really furry and stuff. And I feel like this is great because it already looked okay and now it looks really good. So that's why the second rendering works so much for me. It just gives me more time to focus on details after already having the base practically done. And right now I'm just fixing her tattoo. And After I'm done with this base rendering, I'm going to merge all the layers, but again, don't forget to take your time. Right now I'm really making it the texture that I want. I have a shirt that looks like the ones that she's wearing, so I'm just thinking about how it feels when I have it on my body. And I'm trying to bring that texture. And for her dress, I have some lace brushes that I like to use for a dress, and I'm just thinking about how to make it an interesting design. I am making the brushes with the wrap tool and the overlay layer, and I'm just decorating. I tried some flowers, but I thought it was too much, and I just kept having fun with it. Like, art doesn't need to be only hard, you can have fun. And I'm adding some little sparkles and textures. And then after the second base rendering, I merged her layer of the character, and then I made it not visible because now I'm going to focus on the background. I feel like the background threw me off a bit because, as you can see, I have so many experience with like actually rendering out a character, but then the background literally got me so hard. But right now I'm just doing the base background rendering, so again, I'm not thinking a lot about textures. I'm just making it look like it's wood, but not like really going for a wood vibe, because I don't want to lose the focus of the character, but at the same time I want to have a background that looks rendered. So I'm just going the whole bookshelf and just painting the whole bookshelf. And honestly, I feel like I could have made a better job, but at the same time I feel like this part of the painting I got a bit wrong, because the light that hits the bookshelf isn't interesting enough for me to want to put more details in the bookshelf. The bookshelf is mostly in the dark, and it's not even the focus because the books are the focus. So it was kind of confusing for me to want to put more detail in it. I think I needed to have a more interesting background overall to have more motivation to render it more. And in the book, again, I did render it better than I did the bookshelf in my opinion, but at the same time, I feel like I could have put it more details. But it's my first time painting a bookshelf, so I think it was good for a first time. But next time, I think I could try to make it more detailed. Again, here I'm literally just going and fixing it and making it look better and less like flat. But that's basically what I'm doing in the whole background. I'm just making a good base for it. That's basically it. But I feel like something that I could have done better as well, I could have made a more interesting like book focus. My original idea was for her to be getting a book out of her shelf, but that didn't really work out because the perspective of the bookshelf was a bit taller than her hand, so I didn't really want to change that because I would have to change the whole perspective. So I just left it, but I think it would be interesting for me in the next time to either make a book that stands out so I can really render it, or just sit down and render the whole bookshelf. But at the same time, I feel like it would be too many details if I rendered the whole bookshelf. So it was a hard design decision, and I feel like I did the best that I could, and it does look nice, but I expected more of myself for this book. So this is the tip that I can give you. Like, really think about your background. And as you can see in my background sketch, everything was working really well, everything was nice, but maybe I should have sketched the books as well. Like, if you're going to leave a really important element out of the sketch, add it as soon as you can, because it might just look weird after you add it. Right now, I'm just finishing the rendering of this window, but that's basically it. Again, I could have made more with the background, but I I kind of like settled, and here I'm soon going to merge all the layers, and I'm just going to make it look like they are in the same place, because I feel like some of the edges of Nesta was confusing around the background and she looked like she wasn't there. So I tried to fix that by fixing the edges, and right now I'm just making the final touches. Basically, in the final touches, I add color dodge, glitter, I make a color balance layer and a levels layer, and I just try to fix the light as much as I want. And here I added some light beams, like going through the window. But that's basically it. So here are some zoom ins that I feel like they are really nice for you to watch. And the light always looks different from when I film it in my computer, which pisses me off so much. But that's basically it. This is the final image, and don't forget to add your signature. I really hope you enjoyed this video and that my process made sense to you. I just tried to not overcomplicate it. And again, I have so many speed paints in this channel. If you want to watch more speed paints, I basically follow the same process. And that's basically it. I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I post a new video every Saturday, and if you have any video suggestions, feel free to drop them below. Remembering that my commissions are open. This would be a $160 commission, so feel free to reach out. I have the prices on reais as well. And that's basically it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It makes such a big difference for me. And I love you so much. See you in the next one.